Hey, Jessica, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Of course. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yay. Okay, so we're going to be talking today, for those of you who don't know, we're going to be talking about the new sexy and Jessica's experience within it, starting it, what her story is, and just sharing, all of that with you guys. And hopefully we're going to just be as real as possible, just be ourselves. And we hope that you gain some insight about yourself through this and learn about the program. So I guess my first question for you, Jessica, is take me back to before January. I think we spoke in December, right? What was that like for you? What was your body image like? What was your life like? Tell me about that a little bit.
That's a really good question because when I stopped to think about what it was like back then, it's crazy to think about how different it was from how I feel now. And I didn't think it was that bad. I thought I was just so used to it, but now I can see how bad it was. Back then, I struggled so badly with my body image in particular that it was affecting my physical health, it was affecting my mental health, it was affecting my emotional health, my marriage, everything. A little snapshot into where I was in my life at that time. I had experienced a really traumatic divorce where there was different types of abuse involved that did cause me to have a lot of trauma involving my body and the way that I viewed my body and the way that I felt
Mhm.
my worth and the way that my body image directly related to my worth, my value as a human being,
Uh,
which
yes.
logically I know is incorrect, but it still felt very real inside myself. And so then going through a lot of therapy and thinking that I was really good with that, but then being a single mom, getting remarried into a safe relationship was a completely new experience that made me feel self-conscious and at war with my body in a way that I didn't expect, where I felt ashamed of what I had to offer and ashamed of the scars and the effects of motherhood, as well as
Yeah.
time and aging and things like that, that I was very aware of. And
I
I
think we
remember
think when we go to from a bad circumstance to something good, automatically everything is amazing. And it doesn't always work like that. And I think one thing that I've noticed with shifts like that is sometimes it's hard to even receive the good or to be present in your body and just see it, And so I really relate to that. I really get that.
exactly, because there I was, finally at last, in the safe relationship with a good man who thought I was beautiful and was faithful to me and wonderful to me. And I thought that's all I needed to be happy. And here I was having it, and I wasn't happy. I
Yeah.
didn't feel beautiful. I couldn't receive anything that he was saying to me or the way he was treating me and keeping me safe. I could not trust it or receive it. And I knew that was a me problem. I knew that was something I needed to look into. And then I discovered that we were having a honeymoon baby. So then all the effects of pregnancy and the body changing and the postpartum coming up, looming over me was
Mm.
coming up. So I had a lot of I knew that the year ahead of me was going to include a lot of extreme ups and downs for my body image.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I was at the start of
What
this.
would an average day look like for you? How did your body image at the time impact your day-to-day life?
From the minute I woke up, literally the second I opened my eyes, maybe even before I opened my eyes, I would immediately be aware of my husband beside me, and if I had slunched down on my pillow and my double chin was showing, or and just
Mhm.
being oh no, that's so embarrassing. From the second my eyes opened, or even right before they opened, I was already ashamed and aware, so obsessed with the way I was presenting myself, if I was taking up too much space, if I was looking at a flattering angle or not, and what that would mean if I didn't. Um, it was,
A lot of
and
it
then
had to do, I mean, you also felt it yourself when you looked in the mirror and things like
yes,
that, but a lot of it also
yeah,
had to do with him seeing you in a certain way.
exactly. So interacting with him, I would be fine not thinking about it, and then as soon as him representing someone else's point of view, would come into the room, I would suddenly be like, oh, like I have to like suck in my stomach, or I have to like do this or do that. Or I would pass by a mirror, any reflection, like even walking like my girls into the school and catching my reflection in the window, or walking by a mirror in my house, like when I go to the bathroom or like anything,
Yeah.
was just like really painful and difficult. And it would like
Yeah.
take me away from the happiness, the peace that I was just having in the moment, or just like living my life, and suddenly make me panic and like feel so many dark thoughts toward myself of unworthiness and embarrassment. And if I saw like pictures that I was tagged in, like as I was scrolling through social media that day, if I saw any pictures uploaded of an event or anything, it would sometimes send me into a panic attack that would cause me to literally start crying, or like just like have a very
Yeah.
physical reaction and feel so humiliated just for existing. And just like,
Yeah.
and
It
that
was
was
consuming a lot of your heart and mind, like
a lot.
on a consistent basis. And like you said, you didn't feel like safe to exist in your body.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so I'm so glad that like you found me. How did you even come to my group in the first place?
That is a really good question, because it was so many years ago that I'm not sure exactly how I stumbled upon it. If somebody added me, or if I like saw one post and immediately was like, yes, like I need this. I saw that you were kind of based out of Israel, and my family, like that's where my heritage is from and everything. And I was like, oh,
So
that's so
cool.
awesome. And so I was drawn to that, but then I saw your beautiful work in some of your photographs, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I'd kind of secretly been like trying to plan like maybe a boudoir photo shoot for my someday. So I was getting a lot of
Yeah.
inspiration from the beautiful poses and the lighting, and I was like, I could do that. I could do that. Like, look at these like beautiful women. Like, I think I could do this. And having your post come across my feed, like over the years, was always so empowering and so helpful. And it would always like instantly turn my day around. And then I saw that you were posting about like this program that you were going to try, and I had not really interacted a whole lot,
I
like in
remember
the
you
group.
typed like, I'm so interested. Like, I'm basically in. I was like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
my God.
exactly. Because I was like, oh man. And I remember telling my cousins, like on Marco Polo, like the video app, and I was like, okay, yeah, there's this woman that I follow. She's so amazing. Like, I would give anything to like fly out to where she is and work with
Oh
her.
my
But
God.
like, I know in this lifetime, I'll never be able to work with her, but that would be a dream of mine. Like, I feel like she's just so, like, I resonate with her so much. Like, I
Mhm.
could, but I know I can't. But then as
Mhm.
soon as I saw that this program was available, and like, and I could participate remotely, I was like, I must, like, this is the opportunity of a
That's
lifetime.
amazing. That's amazing. So did you have any like, once we spoke, did you have any fears going into the new sexy? Was like maybe about the emotional side of it or the investment, or were there things that were like kind of holding you back that you had to overcome to decide to do this?
Um, I definitely felt the fear of like, what if it doesn't work for me? You know, like
Yeah.
what if I go through it and nothing changes? Like, what if I'm just so, because I had also convinced myself like, it's not just the run of the mill body image, you know, trouble that we all have. Like, I've experienced such severe trauma. Like,
Mm.
will I be able to like fully participate? I remember also being afraid of, yeah, the investment, like on the financial aspect, and like wondering, oh, also just where I was in my life, I was like, isn't now really the best time? Like, I know I'm about
Yeah, I'm
have a
just thinking
baby.
that like you were about to give birth, and I was
Yeah,
like, wait, but this actually could be the best time for that kind of support.
right. I remember thinking like, I'm about to invest this money and I really want to get the most out of it, but really, can I, if I'm going to have a baby and like, and I'm going to be postpartum and I might have to miss some things. And upon like discussing it with my husband and pondering it further, I did come to that conclusion as well, that there was
Wow.
really no better time to befriend my body and heal my body, and like go on that healing journey with my body.
Yeah. As your body is changing so drastically from week to week, and then
Mhm.
going through labor and trusting your body, and like being postpartum is something that a lot of women really struggle with in the body image arena. And I completely agree. I think that's really amazing how it went from like, this is like maybe the worst time to no, this is the best time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Amazing. Okay, so then you started, did you have a certain like goal in mind? Did you imagine that, you would have a certain kind of result from going through the 3 months in the beginning?
I remember not having anything too specific, but I definitely had a concept in my mind of how I desired to feel and how that conceptualized day to day. What I wanted that to feel different, where
Yeah.
the first thought on my mind, and it wouldn't take up so much of my energy and my time, and it wouldn't
Yeah.
stop me from like holding myself away from a husband who desired me and like was reaching out to me and like wanted to connect with me and like be intimate with me or like hold me or just interact with me at all, and like being able to receive that and be free to be in the moment and
Mm.
cherish the blessings I was being given without immediately canceling them out because of something like
Yeah, like this inner voice of like, you're not enough, or there's something wrong with you, or you're broken, or whatever narrative that
exactly
your
the
inner
ability
critic was
to let
spouting off.
yes, like the ability to take a picture or post a picture without humiliation and like to even be like touched by him without having to like make sure that like it felt okay, like you know what I mean, like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be free.
Like it's almost like when you're thinking about what he's thinking about, you're always like outside of yourself. You can't really like be in your body.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. Did you ever try doing anything before the new sexy in terms of body image specifically?
Yes, so I had worked on like some belief breakthrough exercises with like different mentors that were helpful, like as long as I
Yeah.
was practicing them, but they wouldn't like they weren't as lasting. Also, like the perpetuation of like continuing to experience traumatic events in my life kind of just kept me backsliding and
Yeah.
spiraling. And so I would find myself back at square one constantly. Um, and that was pretty rough. But I was like aware of body positivity and had tried to like embrace,
Yeah.
but it almost felt contingent. Like, oh well,
Mm.
I really want that, but until I get that, I'm not going to accept my body in this way as it
Right.
is right now. It was always like I manifest and believe I can get there someday, that I can look like that someday, that I can release these things that will get me there
Right.
someday.
Like only like the body image, the positive body image will come if my body changes in the way that I want it to. And like I'm
Exactly.
manifesting like this kind of body plus positive body image. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I wasn't able to fully grasp or lean into or feel genuine when embracing and loving myself and my body as it was in that moment. It was always about the future in some unobtainable form.
Yeah. And I relate to that. I'm sure a lot of women relate to that. So it makes a lot of sense that that's how you felt. So what was your experience? What was it like to be in the new sexy? I know
It was
that's a
great.
big question.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I personally have no qualms or problem like being in a group, especially a group of women. Like I always feel so safe to be around women because we've all had different experiences, but we all have womanhood in common. And that kind of
Yes.
has a connotation in this world with like the media and just the way that we're raised and like body positive culture and body toxic culture like that we've all
Yeah.
experienced in one way or another. So like just
Right.
knowing that everyone's going to know where I'm coming from to a certain extent made me feel
Yeah.
safe. You were a wonderful facilitator. I felt like
Oh, thank
everyone was
you.
feel heard. No, of course. Like thank you for like letting us be a part because we all took turns feeling heard, and then also the ability to experience and learn from everyone else's story in such a way that could not have happened if we didn't feel safe to be vulnerable and if we
Yeah.
didn't have that safe space to share and partake as well as to give. And
Beautiful.
that was really special.
So, so special. Were you surprised by like different perspectives that you gained from the other women?
Yes, because there was a lot of different walks of life, um, like all different stages of life. So there were women that were dealing with things that I have dealt with before, and now they're on the other side of it. I was hearing stories from women who were living completely different lifestyles than me that I may never experience, but being able to glean and understand that, like, no matter what it looks like, we all want the same things. We all are
Yeah.
having the same conversations with ourselves inside of our head.
Yeah.
And like, that was both so validating and so heartbreaking too, but it was very eye-opening as well.
Amazing. So it helped you not feel as alone in your struggle, even
Yeah,
even even if it was like such a different circumstance or they were living such a different life, you could always somehow relate to what they were going through.
exactly.
That's so beautiful. Do you remember like the first breakthrough you had in the program where you're like, oh, like I'm thinking about something different or I'm doing something different in my life?
I think it was one of our conversations that we had somewhere along the way where we were discussing like sexy, like the word sexy and like what it means.
Yeah. Oh
Because
my
up
God, I
until,
loved that call. That was the best call. And
yes,
I wasn't
it
even
was
planning it.
great.
And it just like came to be.
It was perfect. All my life, like as so many others, like I would think of the word sexy to mean a very, very, very specific thing. And I didn't think that the word could apply to me because sexy in my head was strictly sexual. Sexy was also a beauty standard. Only
Yeah.
certain people could be sexy, and anyone could be beautiful. Anyone
Right.
could even be pretty. Anyone could be, attractive. But sexy is reserved for women who fit the beauty standard, who
Mm,
that like I guess like sex appeal or whatever and like
right. Who's desirable maybe in the eyes of men, like the male gaze.
exactly,
Which is
exactly,
also like kind of like a flawed way of seeing it because there's so many men in the world who are attracted to different kinds of women, and that is a fact. But there is this concept of the male gaze where it's like we're filtering everything through, is this person going to find us desirable?
totally.
Yeah.
It's so much of that. And so bringing that into a new context and redefining the word as the new sexy made me feel like it made me feel so much more aware and intentional about my moments of confidence and safety and peace and these other words that I would associate with like deep joy and like wholeness, but bringing the word sexy into that, meaning exuberant and feminine and balanced and like all these things, made me realize that when I'm living my life that way, when I'm in alignment with myself, living my truth and
Yeah.
giving myself a safe space, I am sexy. Like that is sexy.
Yes.
And everyone always says over and over, and men are always saying the same thing, like, oh, it doesn't matter what you look like. Confidence is the most sexy thing. It's the most attractive thing. And like that inner glow, like that's such a simple way of putting it, but it's true. Anyone, man, woman, like media or not, like you can see that. And it like shines forward from someone who's feeling sexy, not inherently sexual, but like that new definition of like sure of yourself,
Yeah.
like safe in your skin, comfortable in your skin, like all those wonderful
It
things that
was
we
like
like.
it gave you permission to step into that for yourself.
Yeah, very much so.
Wow, that's so cool. And I remember we had like a bunch of definitions of how we redefine sexy. And then you were telling us about your birth, which happened partway through the new sexy. And I was like, that is literally the definition of sexy. You had the sexiest birth ever.
I'm
You were
the super sexy bird.
embodied and present and confident, and you trusted your body. Like, that's amazing. Did you
It was
feel, could you like connect that word sexy to those moments of giving birth?
absolutely I could. Like I felt like such a goddess. It was so amazing. I just felt like so grateful for my body and so in tune with my body and like I felt so free to be in the moment and feel like the gratitude and the power like surging through me and like it helped me a lot. Having practiced in the program, like in the new sex program, having practiced stepping into that mindset of like just being friends with my body and not working against my body was super
Yeah.
helpful through labor and childbirth,
Yeah.
because that's kind of the main key, is getting out of your way, not overthinking, and being able to surrender to your body. Like, and
Surrender. That was a big one. That was a big definition that we brought up.
yeah,
Wow.
huge. So having practiced that mentally, it was very helpful throughout my home birth experience, where I was really put to the test. It was very long. It was a grueling labor, but I felt so sexy. Like, even like hour 9, like I remember between contractions, like I shouted, I was like, I am a goddess, like I am so amazing. Like, I like was so exhausted, but I could feel how powerful, and I was so excited and proud of myself for like the way I was handling it, and that I was stepping into that. Like,
Yeah. And I mean, that just brings me such deep joy, because having those moments of feeling so embodied and sexy and like a goddess, especially when you're giving birth, literally changes you forever. It's like this incredible, powerful thing that you did that you can always access back inside of yourself, because you're like, I did that. I did that.
it really, really changed my perception of my postpartum body as well. Like
Yeah,
it,
tell me about that. Because
so,
you've been pregnant before and you've gone through postpartum before. So how was it different this time
oh yeah.
after going through the program?
And this was also my first time having a baby with this husband. So,
Yeah,
like, it's not like he had seen me pregnant and given birth so many times before. This was his first time, his first child ever. So I
right.
was like self-conscious about that. I had so many like
Thought.
anxiety about it, yeah, leading up to it. But when the time really came, yes, those thoughts were sometimes present. And yes, I was like,
Yeah,
ooh, like a little overwhelmed at like some of the changes in my body. But the way that he supported me through the labor, and the way that I supported myself and like
yeah,
held space for myself, made me feel so, so I could see myself catching myself, if that makes sense. Like, instead of doing
I
little things
remember
like,
you mentioning that, like in the program, like almost like you're mothering yourself, you're supporting yourself, you're taking care of yourself, you're being that person that maybe you didn't have.
yes, it was almost like I was kind of gentle parenting myself, where I would catch myself having a disparaging thought and then being like, no, no, we don't talk that way. That's not kind. Like, we don't do that. Like, and being like, oh, okay. And like, I would catch myself trying to do something like walk out of the room backwards so that he wouldn't like see my cellulite, or like, or be a certain way until he left before I like rolled over so that I wouldn't like, these little things. And then I would catch myself and be like, no, it's okay. I'm okay. I'm safe here. And slowly like that started to go away. As well as like, I remember like sitting next to him, and like I was kind of slouching down on the couch and we were just relaxing, and like my belly was just like doing its postpartum thing, like just being kind of like soft and like and really stretchy.
Yeah,
And
it's
I instead of
postpartum thing.
immediately yes, you know what I mean.
Of course.
And instead of immediately like, oh no, like he can see my stomach like being soft, like I need to grab the blanket really fast, I just stopped and I put my hands on it and I looked down at it.
Mm,
He was like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Because he saw me put my hands on my belly and like, and look down.
mm.
He was like, pain? Like, are you all right? And I was like, oh no, I'm fine. I'm just looking at his old home.
Oh,
That was like, I
oh,
know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it was like
it is.
such a healing moment, like that I never ever thought that I could be so vulnerable and allow myself to be witnessed that way, and not only just like not mind but like embrace it so fully, and have him like just like laugh and also put his hands on my belly as well and like thank me for carrying his child. And like it just felt like, and I would not have had that experience with him if I had quickly grabbed the blanket and covered myself up, or like shut down emotionally and mentally that way. Like it just like opened up a whole new way of living and like a whole new level of peace that I did not
Um,
yet have access to.
Wow. Yeah, I think sometimes we don't realize that when we do the body image work, it's not just taking away the bad feeling, but it's giving you so much. It's opening the doors to possibilities and opportunities and memories and so many beautiful moments. That's just so beautiful and profound. And I think that any woman, any woman who has given birth will think the same thing.
Absolutely.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable. You're so beautiful. Like your vulnerability is just like the most beautiful thing, and it shines so brightly. And having you as a part of the community was incredible. Like I couldn't even imagine that whole experience without you or without any single one of the women in there. It was just, it felt so divinely orchestrated and so meant to be. And I don't know, just like seeing your face every time and like all of your expressions and your openness and your self-awareness and just like what you had to offer other women too was just beyond. So like I hope you really know how much I loved having you there.
Thank you.
Of course. What part of the program did you learn the most from? I mean, you mentioned the other women. Was there other parts of the program that were helpful to you on your healing journey?
Yes. The program itself, the modules. Um, there were so many paradigm shifts and realizations and epiphanies that I was having about things that I thought I had already considered or learned before, but then they were brought into new perspectives and new questions were asked, and I ended up having to ask myself a lot of questions that made me
Uh,
dig deeper than I ever before. Like for
right,
example, like being shown images of things that we perceive to be flaws, like different
right.
flaws, and being like, is this woman beautiful? And I could say like, of course, like she's beautiful, of course. And then being asked, okay, so would you want to look like her? And
Mm,
having that be, like a rhetorical question, but it
yeah,
really like shook me. And it was like, and my immediate response was like, no, I wouldn't. And it,
yeah,
but if you think he's beautiful, then why not? Like
yeah,
why think that? Who put that in your head? Where did that come
right,
from? Why do we do that? Like
right,
these that like really just like completely broke up the old foundation and like laid new gravel. Like
right. It was
it,
almost like you were able to see, like you're definitely able to see the beauty in other women, but then when you would actually come down to like the cellulite or the boobs that are not perky or whatever it was, looking at those, that still brought up emotions for you. Like you could see the beauty in like an entire woman, but then like looking at those things that we perceive as imperfections, you realize that you still have some thoughts about them. Was that
absolutely.
it? Was
Yeah.
that it?
It was totally all about that. Um and one of the things that I feel like all the women had in common was we were able to be so supportive and loving and gracious to each other, but had the hardest time offering that to ourselves. And so checking in every week as a part of the program and being able to share with one another, like what was our win? What would we say was the setback? Or like if we had any, like maybe a low point in the week that we wanted to share or learn from, or like bring up to the group for feedback or whatever it was. And like hearing the different wins and like hearing the different like things that were like that maybe to someone else would sound so small, but to us as a group and like as a sisterhood, like being so excited to celebrate those wins and knowing what they truly represented and what they truly meant. It's like, yeah, okay, so what? You had like two servings of dinner. Okay, all right, fine. But like then knowing the content what that specific woman had gone through and like I mean like, yes, you did it. Like, being able to
Or like I walked past the mirror and I didn't say something mean to myself, or I was able to be a little bit more present when I was intimate with my husband or whatever, like just these little tiny shifts, which were actually huge ones. And we recognize that in each other.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful to see their progress being made. And then even when there were times where progress was not made, where maybe someone felt like they had backslid a lot or not been as, intentional, and like letting there be a space to hold space for that. It was just awesome. Like I didn't feel any pressure to be at a certain point or healed at a certain point with everyone. I didn't feel like I was
Yeah.
ever behind just because I wasn't, like
Right.
same experience as someone else. Like it felt really comfortable the way that it was facilitated felt very comfortable to be exactly where I was, and that was enough. And that if I ever
Yeah.
felt different, that was coming from myself. That was me like judging myself, and it wasn't the program making me feel like I was falling behind.
That's so, I'm just so glad that you said that, because that's really what I wanted from the beginning. I think people come into the program thinking, okay, I have to get through this course. I have to show up. I have to be an A+ student. And there's like this perfectionism that I think almost every woman deals with in different ways. And I was like, no, this is a place outside of diet culture, outside of the societal messaging that a woman is supposed to be a certain way. And we're letting go of that shame, and we're just going to show up as we are. And that is
Mm.
healing in itself. So that means that if you missed a group coaching call, or you didn't do every single journal prompt or whatever, that was part of it, being okay with that and already knowing that you're enough. That's really what I wanted from it. Because I think other programs, that have to do with personal development, there can be like a lot of benchmarkers and a lot of tracking for progress. And that's not what I wanted for you guys. So I'm so glad that that's what you experienced.
It was perfect. It was very needful for it to be nice. That was very inspired of you. You were very intuitive for that.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Okay, so since the new sexy, like, how has your life changed? And you mentioned that, you were in this one place in December before you started in January. And then we went through the 3 months and you ended the program. What has been possible for you now? What is your day-to-day life now?
I would say that it's definitely not perfect because we
Of
do
course,
live in a world where
we're
there's
humans.
are still triggers, there's still trauma, there's still people who will say horrible things, and like, the media is still the way that it is, and like, so we're not going to be perfect about it, but the concept that I yearned for so deeply, I would say, is definitely like, instead of just a faraway dream that I can never imagine, it feels more within my grasp than ever before, and I'm finding my recognizing it around me, like already here. um like being able to see a picture that somebody posted and try to first look for the beauty in it, like instead of immediately,
Beautiful.
I still will feel like, oh no, my arm looked so huge, like I'll still have that thought, but then I'll be like, but look at the way I was holding my baby, like look
Right.
at how, like when I look back at that picture, when he looks back at that picture, he'll just be like, oh, my mom was always holding me, like, and like that's,
Beautiful.
like, and even though I still had feelings about the way that I looked in the photo, I was able to give myself grace and have more compassion and see myself as human and see myself as worthy of these experiences, whether or not like I looked the way I wanted to or wished I could. And definitely like my marriage, there was so much of my marriage that I didn't realize was connected to this, like the way that I
Right.
would shut down or not be completely present or not being able to um like just experience like the beautiful parts of my relationship. I was minimizing and holding back so much simply
Yeah.
because I was feeling so self-conscious and so afraid, even in the most mundane of activities, like not even just intimacy. Like I didn't realize how much I was missing out on. And like if I can vulnerably share, like even just like last week, there was a situation where I was just like relaxing, doing my thing, not necessarily looking or feeling like super attractive. And my husband just like feeling all the love in his heart, like came up to me and was like being so snuggly and so sweet and was trying to initiate intimacy with me. And I was feeling really happy in the moment. And then I caught a glimpse of myself. And 100% of the time before the new sexy, I would have either completely shut down the moment or completely gone into a triggered space in my head where I no longer was there. I wasn't in my body
Yeah.
anymore. Feeling like I could not, I was allowing it to happen because I wanted to be with him and I didn't want to let him down, but I was no longer enjoying the moment at all. I would feel so self-conscious and aware, like super hyper aware of like
Yeah.
the way, oh, like I have to get out of this position instead of just like enjoying the
Or like
sensation.
he's touching this part of me and like wanting to kind of like
exactly, and wanting to
control
like
that a
move
little bit.
out of that position or like be where I was. But I looked down at myself and saw it, and I still was displeased like with what I saw. It didn't like work any magic, and I was like, oh no, that's not how I want to be looking. Like that's like so awful. But then I was like, immediately I was like, but guess what? I was sitting here looking like this, and he saw me from across the room and thought I was so beautiful and so worthy, and like and so lucky. He like he came up to me and initiated this beautiful moment of connection, and like is reaching out and wanting to be with me and touch me and hold me as I am right now. Like that's what inspired him to come over here, me looking this way. And also like I'm comfortable with the way that I'm sitting back and leaning back right now. This feels comfortable to me. And like
Yeah.
this makes me feel like he has full access to love me, and I'm like enjoying the sensations that are happening in my body. I'm so grateful to my body to
Wow.
live a body that allows me to feel these sensations, to feel this level of connection with somebody. Like what a gift.
Wow.
And then I completely just dismissed it and stayed where I was, did not adjust myself or like or like shut down or move myself or like move to hide anything. Like I
Wow. This is
kicked
huge. This is amazing.
and I was able to stay completely present in my mind. I was able to
Ah,
completely like just be so uninhibited and feel so sexy like
how?
in that moment. And it was like one of
Because
the
you switched the definition of sexy. That's amazing.
exactly like and it wasn't because of like the lingerie I was wearing or like or what I was saying or doing. It was so internal and so personal. And it like we both agreed that even though it was just like a spur of the moment, like normal, whatever, that there was something about it that made it one of the best interactions we'd ever had. And
Oh my God.
I knew it was because I had brought myself to the table. Like I was fully present and like not holding back
Wow.
because of body positivity like issues.
Wow. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Wow. Amazing. I miss hearing all of your wins. I miss it. Thank you so much. Okay, so last question, I think. If you could go back and give yourself advice in December, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, it's hard to pick one thing.
You're like, I
Um,
have so much to tell you, girl.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I would tell myself, like, hey, you're safe here because it doesn't matter who or what is like saying or doing the right things. Like, you have a sanctuary inside yourself. Your body is a sanctuary for your spirit. And like, you can trust your femininity, you can trust your sexy. You can trust all these things. You are inherently this way. You don't have to do anything to be
Wow.
and to be desirable and to be worthy of love and be worthy of joy and pleasure and like good experience in life. And like I would just really hope she'd listen. I doubt she'd listen, but that's what I'd say because it's true.
I
And
doubt she listens.
that's
Like, just take this course,
what,
girl.
yeah. Like that's what like she really, really, really craved and desired to know. And like one of the key things that clicked for her, like December, Jessica, was that there was a huge part of me that wanted it so, 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 so bad. And was like, yes, like I just want to let go. Like I just want to let go and not care. And just because like I logically know that I'm so worthy and I'm so beautiful and I'm so
Right.
powerful.
You
And
logically know that.
yeah,
Right.
logically, I don't feel it here. And one of the reasons why is because she was so afraid that if she stepped into that light and stepped into that mindset, that she would be ridiculed and that the world would be like, why are
No.
you, yeah, you're
Yeah.
not allowed to celebrate when you look like that. You're not allowed to feel joy or to accept yourself when you look like that. You need to earn it
Mhm.
and you earned
So
it. You're experiencing
how did you quiet those voices, those judgmental voices that are outside of you or that you imagine people are having about you?
um I decided to start being vulnerable and like posting more of myself
Yeah.
And that's not, I'm not saying that this is the way that anyone solve that, but for me, like I was paying attention not to like the flaws in the photo, but to the comments of my loved ones and like the
Mm,
comments of friends who all they saw was like a happy mom at the park or like a
yeah.
beautiful wife excited to go on the date with her husband. Like,
Yeah.
and like letting through the eyes of who I was afraid was judging me, like give me that love and that feedback. And then like letting, and then also like, you know, working on myself and then being very, very, very vulnerable with my new husband and letting him know that that's what I was thinking. Cause I felt embarrassed to like, to
Mm,
tell him what I was afraid of because I didn't want him to think I was accusing him of thinking that way. I didn't
right.
want to know that I was so embarrassed because everyone says like, oh, insecurity is so unattractive to men, you know, like I didn't
Right.
want to,
That's the only thing about like confidence is sexy that kind of makes me question it, because I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, if you can get to that place, but I don't want that to be another thing that women are like, oh my God, like my whole life I've been bombarded with this idea that I'm not enough and my body is not good enough. And now I'm supposed to be confident to be sexy.
exactly.
Like, so,
And
but
then if
I
I
get what you're saying, because also there is a different kind of grounded confidence that we can at
right,
least like shift and work towards.
right. And then if I let my partner know that I'm struggling or feeling insecure, will that make them think less of me or will that make them be unattractive to me? Like I feel like
Right.
I share that, you know, like this kind of mentality. But I was really vulnerable with him and I let him know about partway through the program. I was like, I really am so excited for things that I'm learning, but I just can't practice them yet. And he was like, why not? You know, like I love everything I'm hearing. Like, why do you feel like you can't practice them? And I expressed to him, like, I'm scared that I'm gonna like just be this way, but that you'll be secretly like cringing. Like that I'll be like
Right.
being like confident and that I'll like, you know, step into that light and you'll be like inwardly cringing at me or embarrassed of me or like
Wow.
be like have this attitude. And he was just like, and like that gave him the opportunity to like
Yeah.
to tell me, he's like, no, like all I want for you is to
Is
feel
that
that way, let go. Like that's what I want for you. And like I want to see you be happy. I want to see you feel free. I want you to feel safe in my presence. I want you to feel vulnerable in my presence. Like I that so badly. Like you are so beautiful. Like it makes me like so sad to like hear the way that you like talk about yourself and the way that you think about yourself because like you know like I don't get that and like it's so awful like you know so I like hear getting to hear him say it and not just like I know he does but like hearing
right?
him like the person whose opinion I value the most you know like my husband like hearing him say like I'm not gonna cringe like this is what I want like it would make me happy was like okay maybe I should like listen like maybe I
Yeah.
should like relax so that was like being vulnerable like
And having that support is sometimes really, really helpful.
yes, having the support, being vulnerable and just doing it anyways in the way I felt safe,
Yes,
like
that's important.
at my comfort level, which would vary from day to day. And I wouldn't like judge myself if like one day I felt fine to like walk across the house like in a cute outfit. And then maybe the next day, maybe I felt like I needed to put on a little makeup or do something to like help me get there. And that was okay. That didn't
Yeah.
mean that I did like having grace and compassion for myself, which was the goal. The whole goal was I just want to have grace and compassion for myself and be my body's friend. I want to have peace in my life and not have this rule my life and get in the way of my marriage. And I feel like I've achieved all that, not perfectly, but it's here, like it's present. Whereas before it was unobtainable.
Wow. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for this. Thank you for sharing and for giving part of your heart to all of us. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Um, I would just say, like, I mean, like, I don't know,
Like,
like, so
would you recommend this to like a specific woman or all women or women who are struggling with certain things?
I would recommend this to every single woman no matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter your upbringing, your personal struggles, your current struggles, whatever
Mhm.
you think getting in the way, or like, oh, I'll do it when, I'll do it when, I'll do it when, like, I promise that like right now is the best time because whatever you're struggling with right now, that you think you don't have time for this will literally give you more energy and like more capability to handle whatever is going on.
Yeah.
Like,
And almost like more time in a way because you're not consumed with all that other stuff.
like there are so many things going on in my life that are so extreme and stressful and traumatic that don't have anything to do with body positivity, but because my spirit and my brain and my neurological pathways are not constantly firing away at like self-inflicted trauma from like body positivity like issues and stuff and like being harmful to myself, I have the ability to keep my head above water
Wow.
because I'm not at war with my own body. You know what I mean? Like it really does.
100%.
Yeah, every facet of my life. So I would recommend this to anyone, everyone, even like young, old. If I had had this knowledge as a child, as a teenager, even
Yeah.
before I got it, like, please, like it would have changed the
That's what I was thinking about when I was creating the course was like, what would have I needed 10, 15, 20 years ago?
exactly. I don't think I would have ever fallen for my toxic ex-husband. Like I think I would have like made healthier, better choices because I would have felt worthy and less likely to fall into a toxic or abusive situation. Like
Yeah.
not saying that this is gonna like guarantee like save anyone from that, but just like
Right.
loving myself and honoring myself in like in the
Right.
true pure form would have changed my life and has changed my life.
Yeah. And I feel like with everything that you've gone through and overcome and even still continually have to face, like it's part of what makes you you. And I am really excited to see like how that continues to manifest in your life. And like I know, even if it's just like, which is a big deal, even if it was just your kids that you're passing this on to, and I know that you have because of like wins that you've shared and things like that, that is like an entire world, like generations to come. But I also get this feeling that there's a lot of other women in the world that you're going to help with your story and with your healing. I just have a feeling.
Thank you. I hope so too.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much, Jessica. I
Of
feel like I
course.
could talk to you forever.
I do. Like it was really easy. I feel like it was just us. I forgot we were recording.
Yeah, yay. Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please feel free to reach out to me, or if you have any questions for Jessika, we can definitely direct the questions to her as well and get you your answers. Okay. Have a great night, guys. Great day
Thank you.
wherever you are.